Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having an awesome start to your week. We have a fun week ahead of us, fun week behind us as well. Last week was awesome. We got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline, coming up soon. We are internally in full imposter preparation mode. All the invites have been sent out and confirmed for the contestants this year. We're not going to reveal the contestants until probably during filming. We might reveal some because we're filming in July. It's going to be released in November, end of October. Same timeline as last year as far as the release date goes. So we're filming it a lot earlier this year because we have a lot more planned, and it just lined up well. This is the biggest project we've ever undertook, I think, and I'm super excited for it. So Imposter's coming up soon. So a lot of planning going on for that. We're keeping most of the contestants are in the dark on pretty much everything. You know, obviously last year they were in the dark on, they didn't know they were about to play Imposter. This year they know they're going to play Imposter, but they don't know anything else that's coming their way, which obviously y'all don't either. So super excited for that. It's going to be an absolute blast come July when we film that. But short term, also in July, I don't know if you've seen it being teased, Project Skybound's coming. Can't say anything else about it yet. Project Skybound, you might have seen it on our story. Very excited about that. Also the first time we've done anything like that. So that's going to be super exciting. But this week, short term, releases, we have the Nordic Phenom 4, which is a Glow Horizon S-Line DD3 from Discmania coming. We also have the Glow C-Line P2X, which is a Des Moines Challenge fundraiser. Rumor has it there's going to be another release of that Glow C-Line P2X at Des Moines with a very fun stamp on it that may or may not have something to do with Trevor and I. Because obviously Des Moines, we're going to do the Creator Challenge. So if you're in that area, anywhere close to that area, buy tickets to get out there. You're not going to want to miss it. And then if you're coming to the tournament, Friday and Saturday, Trevor and I will actually be at the Discmania booth for an hour each day selling a very limited edition disc. That's all I'll say. It's might be one of the funniest stamps we've ever ran. And by we, I mean we're collabing with Discmania on it. So we also have an Instinct restock. Then from Dynamic, we're getting some classic Orbit Judges and Wardens. Those are a lot of fun. We also have Royal Grand Graces and Royal Grand Peak restocks going down. And then later this week, we also have some Robbie C custom stamp drops happening. So that's going to be fun. We got some Glow Ringer Top Zones, ESP Cicadas, Z Buzzes, all with Robbie's. And then we have some other stuff coming down the pipeline that I can't quite talk about yet. So can't quite talk about that stuff yet. But yeah, going to be a fun week, going to be a fun rest of the month, and then going to be a really fun July. A lot of fun stuff. I feel like I'm having to talk about a lot of secretive stuff, so I'll let one cat out of the bag here. This I haven't even teased. We're not teasing it anywhere, but Thursday's video this week is the first time in, 2 or 3 years. Paul Macbeth's on the channel Thursday. Super exciting. He was in town to check out New London, and so we got around with him at New London. So the New London. So Thursday, first video that drops with him is Trevor and I play him in doubles on the front nine of the New London. That comes out on Thursday. So I'll let that one out of the bag. I can't reveal anything else as far as the Project Skybound and stuff with Imposter and all of that fun stuff coming later. But Thursday, that's going to be a banger video. That's going to be an awesome one. So, okay, go ahead and start throwing your questions in the comment section. Also, if you have any Brody and I team names for the Creator Challenge, throw those in the comment section as well. I put a story up on Instagram yesterday on Foundation's Instagram, and so I got a bunch of suggestions from there. But I'm looking for as many as I can because I really want it to be a funny name for our team. So throw those in the comment section. But I wanted to talk about, I'm currently reading this book. If I can get it out. I should have already had it out. Because I like to always keep you up to date on what I'm reading. And this book has been awesome. The Dichotomy of Leadership. So it was if you haven't ever read, one of my favorite books was Extreme Ownership. That was one of the first, one of the books I've talked about a bunch on here. And it's a great leadership book. And then this Big Booty Bandits, that's funny. That might be too far. I don't know if the Pro Tour will allow that. But The Dichotomy of Leadership has been an awesome like follow-up to that book. I'm right here in it where I'm at. So I still have, I think I'm on chapter like 8 or 9. So I still have a few chapters ahead of me. But what's been great about it is it's basically the whole idea behind it is there's a lot of leadership. There's a lot of leadership principles that when taken too far, you can actually be hurtful as well. So it kind of provides the like, hey, this is a good leadership principle that you probably already know, but you have to balance it with this. So it has to, there is give and take of, caring for your team doesn't always like look the same way. Like there's let's see, when to mentor, when to fire, resolute but not overbearing, own it all but empower others, because that's extreme ownership can actually be taken too far, where extreme ownership can almost become like micromanaging and doing everything for everyone. But yeah, so I don't know if you've ever read Extreme Ownership. I think Extreme Ownership's it's a leadership book, but I think it's a great book for everyone to read. This one's definitely more leadership centric, leadership focused. But both books have been phenomenal. So I'll give like a full review once I get all the way through it. The one I was just reading was Disciplined, Not Rigid, because I think that's a important one when like, especially as you start building out systems and processes, right? Like there becomes standard operating procedures and all of this stuff in a business. And what can happen and what you see happen in a lot of big corporations is when things get too corporate and there's too much of like a strict chain of command and stuff like that, it can actually like slow progress and make it where like big companies are much slower to react to trends in social media. This is the easiest example, but in a lot of things, because there is a like regimented, this is how things have to be done. And so a lot of the examples in that chapter are more sales focused on like sales teams are sticking so close to a script that it actually was hurting their selling potential because it gave the salespeople no flexibility to tailor what they were doing to the people, and it was actually hurting their sales because like you were sticking too close to the script, too close to the standard operating procedure and stuff like that, versus having some flexibility. So you're disciplined in that you stick to the end goal, you stick to what you're supposed to do, but you have some flexibility because not every situation is going to be the exact same. You know what I mean? So yeah. The other thing, before I start answering any questions, so continue to throw those questions in the chat, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, is I'm going to shoot a video actually for this channel here soon, because I wanted to, I was looking through like some of our old vlogs and stuff like that, and I feel like there was a lot of moments that ended up being like big in Foundation's history, as far as big for Foundation. So not big is like in the grand scheme of disc golf, but big for Foundation, that just were never really documented. I've talked about them a few different times, but I wanted to have like a more in-depth explanation of like different parts that happened in Foundation. Because I think it's good to kind of peel the curtain back. That's the point of this channel, is peel the curtain back on like, hey, this is what I'm currently learning. This is what Foundation's currently doing. But I wasn't doing that 5 years ago when we started the company. And so one of the things, I've talked about this before, I have to cover my phone number still on this disc, is this disc right here, the Crystal Raptor, which funny enough, I didn't realize how important this disc was when we ran it to Foundation. And so this is the only one I have left, and I've used it because all the other ones I used and lost or gave away and did a bunch of stuff. So I have literally one left. It's this Crystal Raptor. But this disc, I've said it before, but I think it never really like comes fully across. So I actually pulled the data, but that's literally the disc that saved Foundation, where, I was looking at, I pulled our like, what do you call this? Like account statements with manufacturers from 2019, which is when the year we ran that. And literally if we didn't run that disc, like we weren't in like trouble because we had deals where like any discs that were on our shelves we could have sent back for credit against our invoices, but it was like basically the decisions were like run this disc and save Foundation possibly if it works out, or ship all of our inventory back and close the doors. And now I like re-pulled all the analytics and all the like actual numbers, and that's not an exaggeration. That was literally what had to happen. So I'm gonna make a full video explaining that more in depth, and kind of like explain how much we owed and how we got to that point, because I also think it's a good like learning experience for people who are, you know, in the early stages of growing a business and making decisions. Because like if I could go back to 2019, we would have never been in the position we needed that, but B, I would have understood like a lot of the risks we took when it felt like risks, because now I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years, and I'm sure that in 2030 I'll look back at the risks we're taking today and the decisions we're making today and be like, I would have never done it that way. I would have been able to do it this way. That's just the beauty of growth and carrying on. But I do want to make a few videos like that over the next year or so, just like looking back at key moments in Foundation and like almost doing a vlog style recap, so that in the future I can always look back and have those. And I think people will enjoy them too. I think y'all enjoy the behind the scenes look. I mean, you're here watching me live stream talk about the behind the scenes of Foundation at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. So I think we'll have some fun with that. So let's get into some questions. Man, that's good stuff. Okay. Roman Agnew said, will you make doubles videos with Trevor and 2 pros again anytime soon? As it lines up, we have some videos we're going to do in Des Moines. And I don't know if it'll be straight up like me and Trevor versus 2 pros, but we're going to film with some pros in Des Moines. We're also going to do some collabs with the creators there, because obviously there's a bunch of creators coming in for the Creator Challenge in Des Moines. So we have some fun videos planned for that. But yeah. That question doesn't make sense. All right, a lot of name suggestions for Brody and I. The tough part, like a lot of people suggested like stuff related to Foundation. Like I see Doc said the bosses and stuff like that. Like that in general is a good name. I just don't think people would understand that we're saying it ironically and that we think it's funny. And when you're like going to an audience that's not yours, you have to ride a fine line of like, some people are going to think that that's how we view ourselves. And like that we're like 2 cocky dudes. Cause like we would put it out there as like, it's just a funny name. So we have to ride that line. But then you can also like, if you go too far the other way, then it just becomes cringy. So it's a really weird line to try to find a team name for this type of event. So Doc Zen said, ever read any non-self-help books? Well, I don't really know how broad self-help is, if that makes sense. Because like I just finished The Diary of a CEO, which is a phenomenal book. But like, I don't know if you consider that self-help. Because like I wouldn't necessarily consider this self-help. I don't consider leadership and business books self-help. So I would almost say I basically never read a self-help book. But if you consider that self-help, then I would agree I only ever read self-help books. I started to read Poor Charlie's Almanac, which is basically like Charlie Munger's speeches. And to be honest with you, I just wasn't feeling it. And so I put it down and picked up a different book, because I just wasn't. I'll read it at some point when I'm more in a like investing, dive deep into, you know, businesses mood. But for right now, I wasn't feeling that one. The Infinite Game was another phenomenal one. But again, I don't know if you consider those self-help books. Because if so, then yeah, I would say I probably only read self-help. If business and leadership are considered self-help, then yes, that's all I read. If not, then I never read it. So, but I don't really read. I read my Bible every morning. I read some like Christian books, if you will, like The Cost of Discipleship. I just read Radical by David Platt again. Stuff like that. I'll mix those in with devotion sometimes, and then I read business books. I've tried to get into like fiction reading, and if I'm gonna read, I'd rather read something that's going to grow me in some area And so when I'm saying now I'm reading fiction, it just doesn't do it for me. I just can't get into it. I tried really hard. I used to try to read a fiction book every night before bed. I would like sit down and try to read a chapter. And I read through an Agatha Christie book, and then I started to read the Thursday Murder Club because I'd heard good things about it, and I just can't get into them. Can't get into them. Sim said, any chance you're going to the Gyropalooza event? We didn't get, I think you had to have tickets to that, like from a box. So I know someone got tickets to the Gyropalooza event from a foundation box, like one that was sent to foundation. But like, I don't think they just hand those out. I could be wrong. They could just hand them out. If so, we didn't get them. But, so no, we won't be there. I would love to go, but we won't be there. Adam said you're just reading the wrong fiction. So much truth is conveyed through stories. I'm sure that's true. I don't know. It's just not how I prefer to consume it, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't like fiction books. I never really have. I used to read the Hardy Boys when I was like in elementary school, but I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I see you suggest that, but I love the Lord of the Rings movies. Sadadio writes, what is the most requested disc that you just can't get anymore? Oh. That's an interesting one. Modern day, there's not many because a lot of times they're like our personality stamps and we kind of control the demand and quantity of those, if that makes sense. Because we want to intentionally keep them a little bit exclusive because that helps drive demand. We don't want to flood the market with it. Outside of that, stock discs, for the most part, if you want them, you can get them. I would say some, like the MVP new releases, I think are a lot of times like when the trail first came out, because I think we have trails on the site right now, but like when the trail first came out, it was like it wasn't on their stock order form yet, or it was sold out on their stock order form, but it was also sold out like everywhere because they were making them and there was a really high demand. So like when those discs come out, I think those are like the ones that are probably closest to what you're asking about, where like you get DMs and people asking constantly like, hey, when's the trail coming back? When's the trail coming back? And you're like, I don't know. I can't help you there. But MVP is really the main one that has that going on nowadays. Because most other companies, if people are asking for it, we can typically get it. So let me try to scroll down some more over on Instagram. Oh, Fishhook, Texas says, does Connor have an in the bag or can he do it in the bag? I feel like his and mine are rather similar. He's about to do one for Patreon this month. I did my in the bag for Patreon a few weeks ago, and then I think Connor's the next one doing one for Patreon. So he'll have one on Patreon very soon. YouTube is just talking about book recommendations here. Let me see if there's any questions. Ampersand said, best area to stay near Lynchburg for short vacation. I want to take the family and play some of your local courses. So it depends on kind of what your family's into, because if you just stay in the like forest area, there's a lot of like you can drive 30 minutes to some beautiful hikes and stuff like that. If you want a more like vacation-y, like a bunch of stuff right there, Smith Mountain Lake is a great area because obviously you're on a lake, so there's a lot of, you can rent boats, go out on jet skis, rent tubes, stuff like that. The state park has like a beach there. So Smith Mountain Lake's a good area, and the Manita Park is actually there at Smith Mountain Lake. So you're 15 minutes from that. You're probably 25, 30 minutes from New London. And I would say the farthest course you're away from is probably like 40-ish, probably to maybe 45 or 50. it depends on which part of the lake you're on, but probably like 50 minutes from like Sandusky and stuff like that. So that I think could be a good, little getaway to Smith Mountain Lake. I think that could be a fun. But then you can also stay actually in the peaks of Otter Mountains. There's a bunch of cabins and camping areas and stuff like that all in there. So if you'd rather stay in the mountains, then from there, you're probably 15, 20 minutes away from the Bedford courses, maybe 25 from New London, and like 30, 35 from like Sandusky and those areas. So Finn Uberg said, how's running/training going? It's going good. So my next race isn't until September. I have the 10 miler and then the Virginia 10 miler. And then in November, Trevor and I both are running the Richmond half marathon. So those are kind of like my next races. So I won't officially start training for those until like another month or two. So right now I just started adding weight training 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. Right now I'm basically I lift 5 days a week. I run 5 days a week. And then obviously just have 2 rest days mixed in there. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm keeping my weekly mileage at like 15 miles, just enough to keep my legs fresh. Where my legs are still in shape, but I'm not having to do long runs and stuff like that. Because if I'm running 5 miles a day, I got to just average 3 miles a day. So around 15 miles a week, because then what's nice about that is Saturday mornings I don't have to do long runs. Because once training hits, obviously then every Saturday morning, I'm running at least 6 miles to 10 miles. Probably this half marathon training block, I'll probably hit like a 15-mile run at some point. So, but yeah, it's going good. So far, so good. I forgot I hadn't lifted weights in a long time, so I forgot just like how sore you get from like when you get a good weight lift in, especially when you first start back. I mean, like yesterday I did chest, and it just like, if my arms get up, it just hurts all in here. A good, really good hurt. Not a like I'm in pain hurt, not like a limiting mobility hurt, but just like you can tell you're doing something. And my legs don't feel like that anymore from running. I've been doing it too long. So, yeah, going good though. Ooh, Adam said, can you talk about how to get courses installed? Do you have any experience getting disc golf installed in a local park? So, I don't think I have ever done the full process. I've done multiple different pieces of the process, right? Of like, I've talked to local parks and rec departments about putting a course in. I've bought and donated baskets for courses to go in. I've designed courses, but I don't think I've ever seen one from like start all the way through, if that makes sense. But I think the first step is always just try to get a good relationship with your Parks and Rec department, because like we have a very good relationship with Bedford Parks and Rec. We have a decent relationship with Campbell County as well. Lynchburg City, we don't have much relationship with their Parks and Rec department. But Bedford and Campbell, which are the other 2 counties around here, we have great relationships with them. And so Bedford, like when New London was going in, obviously Paul was still around, lived in the area when that first was going in. And so we were involved in that. Mainly, modern day, we mainly do fundraising. So we'll throw events or do a live stream or just cut a check to help with different things. Independence, we helped with the design somewhat. Again, that was mainly Paul, but we helped out there. We most recently helped with the design of a really short beginner course at Rainbow Forest. It's a local pool that had it's like a public pool. Well, actually, I guess it's technically a private pool, but it's just like anyone can go pay to be a member there. And they had enough land for like a short 9-hole course. And so we laid that out for them as like a good beginner course, and then bought the baskets and donated the baskets for that. But most of it's just like you got to have relationships with the right people. We also just did one at a elementary school, Thomas Jefferson Elementary up here. We donated the baskets and helped design. Brad headed that project up. helped design a like 9-hole. We actually even did like a week of disc golf days over there, where we taught them all how to play disc golf with the course going in and everything. So I think the big thing is just having those relationships, because then the opportunities present itself for you to be able to jump on. But if you like the disc golfers in the local parks and rec have a bunch of friction in, then it's like you're never going to get any progress. Like you're never going to get courses in, because like we've had, when I first got into disc golf, well before foundation, was when Sandusky Park was going in, and like that park was basically just used for, it was basically just used for drugs, more or less. Like there was nothing at the park. There's this one little walking trail that's still there that just kind of goes out like less than a quarter of a mile and then comes back. So like no one was going walking. And then the rest of the park was basically nothing. And so all that's there basically now is disc golf and like some soccer nets. And the Parks and Rec was like very much, they were very surprised by like the turnaround that disc golf provided for that park. So yeah, that was awesome to see too. But how do you get those relationships? Just send out emails. Oh boy. So the tough part for me is when I built the relationships, all the courses, like the key courses, so Peaksview Park, Falling Creek Park, and Sandusky Park were already in the grounds. And so I was just talking to local Parks and Rec about running tournaments. And that's how I built the relationships, was I just ran tournaments with, at the time, Kenny Palmer was the head of Parks and Rec in Bedford. And so I was talking with him, and I just bent over backwards to whatever they needed, and ran tournaments, and then helped with those tournaments of like, hey, we want new tee pads out here. If we like get $5 from everyone's entry fee to go towards new tee pads, could we do that? Would that help out? And that's how we kind of started a relationship of like, they loved us running tournaments there, because whenever we ran tournaments, we would have like fundraising aspects that poured back into the parks. And so we were able to help out a lot. Like the first Foundation versus the Nation built the deck that's at Independence, and stuff like that. So that really helped us building a relationship with the Parks and Rec. Is we were like, hey, we disc golfers want to pour back into our course, and we're not just going to show up and be like, hey, why aren't you doing more? We would just be like, hey, it's if we run this tournament, can we use funds from it to pour straight back into the disc golf course? And so then it was like farther beautifying the park, and it increased the amount of play that was happening, because now disc golfers were taking pride in like, hey, us playing in this tournament helped change these tee pads it went from brick to pavers to eventually concrete. Actually, I think Foundation paid for the pavers the first time, because if you go to Falling Creek Park, our name's on the tee signs, and it's because we paid for the pavers, and I think we paid for the tee signs when they went in. But yeah, that's just over the years is kind of what we did. So yeah. ZVCH said, what do you think would happen if Foundation never happened? Like, what was your plan/path? So I was fully sold in on, I was doing freelance graphic design and social media management. I actually liked the social media management a lot more. And so my plan/path was, I was just going to start a marketing agency. I kind of already had to a certain extent. I was just going to keep going with, I was working with real estate agents, and I was just going to hopefully get enough clients that I had to hire someone under me to take some off my plate. And then that was going to be that. I was just going to keep building and growing that. And that's how I got into, that was how I got into Foundation. Was Paul and Zach reached out about, me and Paul had the idea for Foundation originally with Nick Carl. Then it died off, and then Paul and Zach brought it back a year later, and they came to me about building their website. And I was like, hey, instead of paying me to build the website, can I just have part of the company and build the website for free? And they were like, yeah, that'd be sick. And so that's how I even got into Foundation, was because I was doing freelance graphic design and social media management. So, yeah. Whoops, almost just blocked someone by accident because I was just scrolling. Disc AI App said, what exercises are you finding most benefit to your disc golf game around weightlifting? I am the wrong person to ask about that. You should ask Mikey from Overthrow. That's the guy to talk to. Most of my weightlifting and stuff like that is focused on running and general health, because I'm not trying to throw a disc farther, or like, my performance focus is on running. My disc golf focus is basically just on having fun on the disc golf course. Because I'm not competing in tournaments regularly. I'm not trying to be the greatest disc golfer I could possibly be. I'm looking to just have fun, be entertaining on the disc golf course. So I'm not lifting weights for disc golf performance, but Mikey from Overthrow is doing, like, has been for a while, doing like specific distance training. I think now he's doing weightlifting specifically for his distance comp training as well. So he would have a lot more data on that. I'm just doing your general stuff. Hal Scott said, have I tried the new Rainbow Forest course? So I haven't played it now that's fully in, but Trevor and I laid it out, the original layout. They had to move one of the tee pads down the hill because of erosion concerns. So there's one that got moved since I last played it and walked it. But I think we're probably going to film there in the next week or two, to go out there and play it. On the opening day, we were out of town in Cincinnati filming, and we had just got back in town, so we couldn't make it over there on opening day. But I heard it went great. So I haven't had a chance to play it now that it's fully in, but I've been out there multiple times. Yeah, I actually got lit up by a yellow jacket walking up hole 9 last time I was out there. Through Buddha said, might be super ignorant, but as a longtime watcher, I'm curious about the separation relationship afterwards with Zach. So Zach was one of the original founders of Foundation, and then early 2020 he moved to Dallas. Him and his family moved down there, and we stayed close for a year or two after that. I don't know exactly when, but I haven't talked to him in a long while. We just don't. I mean, it's just when friends move away to different states, that kind of happens. You grow apart. So, but yeah, our relationship, we stayed tight for a little bit after that, a decent bit. Because we were running a business together. You talk every day, so that doesn't just naturally die off overnight. But nowadays, I haven't talked to him in a while. So, no hard feelings though. But yeah, it just we grow apart. Sadadio said, the black and white jerseys are sold out. Any chance of getting more? It's my favorite jersey, but I need one in a new size. We will probably get more at some point. I don't know how many of the gold and black ones we have left, but we probably need those to sell. Only thing I don't know is if we'll reorder the same black and white ones or if we'll do a new design. That would be the only possible problem, but I'm not sure about that. Doc said, only thing about 9-hole courses is be ready for hate, because some people don't understand 9-hole courses. The thing about 9-hole courses is they are phenomenal for the growth of the sport, mainly because you don't need as much land for them to go in. They can be played very, very quick. So I think that as disc golfers, obviously we want 18-hole championship level courses, right? Like, that's what I want to go out and be able to play New Londons all over the place, right? But the best thing for the growth of the sport is having that pitch and putt short, quick course that you can go take your buddies to, and they're going to have a good time the first time they play. So it's important to have the championship level, have the harder courses, but we can't have all the courses be that difficult. Or if they are, they have to have really short tees, because, imagine if you went out to play golf and your only option was the tips. Your only option were the black tees or the blue tees or whatever they are at your course. Golf would be a lot less fun, right? Golf's already freaking hard, but if your only option was every time you played, you had to play from all the way in the back, it would be way harder. It'd be a lot less fun. So golf has obviously most courses have like 4 sets of tees, and that's how you can play, as a newer player from shorter tees and have a better chance of scoring still. And golf, obviously there's a much better understanding that scoring is not the same as disc golf, but that's the importance of, like, if I took my dad or my wife out to New London, they would never want to play disc golf again. But if I took them to Timbrook Park or to Peaksview Park or to this new Rainbow Forest Park, they're going to have a blast because the holes are short. They can get there in 2 or 3, and they can have a good time. They're probably going to make a birdie or 2 out there. They're going to make some pars. They're probably going to shoot a few over, maybe around par. And then if they start talking trash about, oh, this sport's so easy, whatever. Well, now they understand they can go have fun, take them out to New London, kick their teeth in, and humble them a little bit. But that's important for, like, the actual growth of the sport and getting people into it is 9-hole courses, heck, even 6-hole courses. Like, just something where people can go out, have a good time, have some fun. If you want to play 18 holes, play it twice or 3 times if it's a 6-hole course. That is super important for the growth, especially putting it in accessible places like this Rainbow Forest pool. It's like in a neighborhood, right? So, like, so many people go to this pool. So many people, it's like almost in their backyard. So that is something where, like, are we talking about, mass scale growth of the game? No, but growth in your local community. If you have a course that all of a sudden, before the closest course for those people were to drive to Peaksview Park 10, 15 minutes, and now they can walk down the road, they're much more likely to go try that out one afternoon when they got nothing going on, right? So having that and then having discs easily accessible is another thing. That's why I think the used section is very important, where, like, if you come to our used section, we have $5 disc, we actually have discount bin, $3 disc, they're all DX, $3 disc, $5 disc, $10 disc, $12 disc, and the $12 disc are basically just brand new ones that get turned in. And so we always encourage people, like, hey, we have us here, we have Play It Again Sports down the road has a used section. So, like, go to one of those places. You can drop $15, get 3 discs, and head out. And yeah, I think that gets overlooked. That's how a lot of us got into the sport, and then we don't think about it again now that we're deep in the sport. When it's like those are very important things to have. We also donated a bunch of discs. We actually probably need to reach out to them again because they might have been stolen at this point. We donated a bunch of discs to the Timbrook Library, where people can go and just rent a disc, basically just check one out like a book, to play the course that's at the library there. And, like, stuff like that, I think is it going to get hundreds of thousands of players in? No. Is it going to get tens to hundreds of players in? Yeah. And, like, if you do enough of those in enough communities, that's a big scale growth of the game. And so that's the type of stuff that we try to do. So, yeah. Creed said, did I know Paul before Foundation, and how did we meet? So I did know Paul. I met Paul back in 2015. So the first time I ever met Paul was 2015 Worlds, just as a fan. Took a picture with him. And then that was my freshman year at Liberty, which is where I went to college. And his girlfriend, now wife, Hannah, at the time, was on the disc golf team that I joined. And so when he was coming down, kind of like going to USDGC, came to, like, practice at the Liberty disc golf practice, because obviously he wanted to see Hannah. And then a lot of us from the team got to go to USDGC because I think that year there was a Dean's Cup, the, like, college event, and I just wanted to go. So I was like a stand-in for Dean's Cup, but obviously I was just there to have a good time and watch some disc golf. And so that trip, we actually got to hang out with Paul and, like, walk with him inside the ropes and that type of stuff. It was a blast. That's when I officially, like, really met Paul. And then that off season, which was the Liberty disc golf season, he came to a bunch of practices and we started having, like, game nights with the whole team, and he would come to the game nights and we just became good friends. So that was 2015, like fall of 2015. And so we were friends for a solid, like, 3 to 4 years before Foundation started, somewhere in there. G-Bon said, is the reason you're back doing weightlifting for stability, for running, or overall strength? Both. Mainly for running, just because that's just what I'm most interested in, but just overall health as well. because I think that that's important. But I think longevity for my knees and for general support of my legs, it's important to have weight training as well as, because you don't want to be one-dimensional just running, which I have been for 3 years. So, yeah. I think a great foundation series would be a start to finish documentary of getting a course installed. It can serve as a how-to. That's definitely an interesting thought. Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I think the PDGA used to have, I don't know if they still do, like how-to videos like that, but I don't know whatever happened to those. I don't know if they were about installing courses or if they were more about just running tournaments, but not a bad idea. Definitely something we can look into. All right, I'm going to take like one more question and then we'll wrap this thing up. This isn't the last question, but this is one I see right now. So, actually, it's kind of twofold, both from Doc. He said, when are we getting the $3 disc challenge? That's basically, Doc, the we played with the worst disc we could find challenge. That was basically the $3 disc challenge, more or less. He also said, when we return used disc from videos, do you sign them and put the video number they were used in? We don't. We just put them straight back in the used section. Or if we actually really like them, we put them in our bag. But most of the time, they just go back in the used section. Because a lot of people that come through our doors to shop at Foundation aren't like die-hard Foundation video watching fans. Some people are. Like, some people travel in for that. But like the locals that just shop, we're just the disc golf store. So some of them would care, but a lot of them I don't think would. So, all right, this will be the final question. 4BAMC said, which hole do I miss the most at Old New London? Phenomenal question. So 1 through 4 are gone. I don't think it's going to be any of those, though. Old hole 6, I definitely miss. Mainly because, like, I feel like it was a good hole where the more you played it, you got, you basically had, you had an advantage on the field, if that makes sense, because it was, you had an advantage on the field because, like, you knew how far to throw whatever. Versus people who were like playing it blind it was very tough. But that was just such a hard hole. I enjoyed hole 7, but I like hole 4, which is now plays on the old hole 7. 13, I don't really miss that much. 14 was solid. 15 was fun. 16, I don't miss. I miss 17 a lot. I don't know. I think the tough part is just that it's on the same property, so you feel like it's the same course when it's a different course. So I think if I had to say which one I missed the most, probably hole 6, just because I think it had a really good identity going for it, and it's now hole, what is it? 1, 2. Is it now hole 3, I think, that plays kind of, you play from the short tee. It has the same essence. It has 2 of the same shots, but you're missing that final approach into the island green, and you're also missing the, like, initial get around the corner. So I like the new hole 3, but I think hole 6 is the one I miss the most, for sure. So I think I'll go with that, hole 6. But, yeah, so that's going to wrap up today's live stream. Hopefully you enjoyed. Be sure to check out all the new releases at foundationdisc.com, and don't forget Thursday to check out the video with Paul at New London. That's going to be a fun one, so don't miss out on that. And yeah, talk to you again next week. We'll see you then.